Today I am going to start a new chapter from Indian economy, that is poverty in India. Now we are going to know about the meaning of poverty. Poverty refers to a situation in which an individual fails to get minimum requirements of life, that is food, clothes and shelter. Who are the poor? The poor is the one person who fails to get minimum requirement of life, that is food, clothes and shelter. The common feature of poor people are they do not have 2 and complete meals a day. They reside in a kacha house or mud huts without proper roof. They have only limited assets with them. They are landless workers. They do not have finance even if they have land. They are ill and physically weak most of the time. They are illiterate and less skilled. They are exploited by their employers. They do not have proper access of safe drinking water and electricity. Now we are going to discuss what is poverty line. Poverty line is the line which marks the difference between the APL and BPL class. It refers to cut-off point which divides the people into poor and non-poor. It can be determined by the help of monthly per capita income and calorie index. It is determined on the basis of suggested nutritional requirements of 2,400 calories per day in rural areas and 2,100 calories per day in urban areas, which is considered as food poverty. Recently, the nutritional requirements of 2,435 calories per day in rural area and 2,045 calories per day in urban area. 2011 and 12, it is determined on the basis of suggested monthly per capita consumption expenditure or monthly per capita income, that is rupees 816 in rural area and rupees 1000 in urban area. Recently, rupees 1500 is the cut-off point of MPEC. Those who spend less than of 1500 of MPEC are considered as poor. Now we are going to discuss the categories of poor people. There are 3 categories of poor people. The first one, chronic poor. It includes always poor and usually poor. It is of 2 kinds. Always poor, they are always below the poverty line, and usually poor, they are usually below the poverty line. Example, casual worker, landless workers, etc. Now in the graph you can see the first panel. There it is mentioned OX-axis time and OY-axis is poverty line. Suppose you are saying about the poverty line is taken as rupees 1500. The person's income is throughout the time period below 1500. So this is what always poor. But in the second panel you can see about that usually poor. These are the people whose income most of the time below the poverty line, but sometimes it is above the poverty line. So this is considered usually poor. Now we are going to discuss about the second categories of poor, that is transient poor. It includes churning poor and occasionally poor. Churning poor, they regularly moves in and out of the poverty line. Example, small farmers and seasonal workers. And occasionally poor, they are most of the time rich but sometimes below the poverty line due to bad luck. Example, gamblers. In the first panel you can see about the time is mentioned in Y-axis and poverty line is measured in OY-axis. For example, the monthly per capita consumption expenditure is 1500 rupees. If the person's income most of the times is above 1500 and below 1500 rupees, then this type of poverty is called churning poverty. So churning poverty is the type of poverty in which the people's income move in and out of the poverty lines usually. The second one is occasionally poor. Occasionally poor are the people whose income most of the time above the poverty line and their income fall below the poverty line due to bad luck. Now we are going to discuss about the third categories of poor people, that is never poor. They are those people who live above the poverty line. They are non-poor. Example, doctors, lawyers, engineers, etc. In this graph you can see about their income is above the poverty line. we are going to discuss another question. What is poverty? Discuss the types of poverty. Poverty refers to a situation in which an individual fails to get minimum requirements of life, that is food, clothes and shelter. The two types of poverty are absolute poverty and relative poverty. The first one is absolute poverty. It refers to the total number of people living below the poverty line. It is relevant to underdeveloped economy. It can be measured by poverty line. Poverty rate is estimated 21.9% in 2011 and 12. It covers over 50% of world absolute poverty in India. The second one is relative poverty. It refers to poverty of the people in comparison to other people, region, nation. It is the comparison of lower income groups, that is poor people, and higher income groups, they are the rich people. It exists in all economic systems. It can be measured by the help of Lorenz curve and Gini coefficient. Now we are going to discuss another question. Difference between relative poverty and absolute poverty. The first difference is you can see the relative poverty. It refers to the poverty of the people in comparison to other people, region or areas or nation. The first point of absolute poverty, it refers to the total number of people living below the poverty line. Now we are going to see about the second differences between the relative and absolute poverty. The relative poverty is the comparison of lower income groups of one country and higher income groups of the another countries. It helps in comparison the per capita incomes of different countries. Whereas in case of absolute poverty, it is relevant to less developed countries and has no relevance to developed countries. The third differences we are going to see about the relative poverty in India. It is calculated by using Lorenz curve and Gini coefficient. Whereas the absolute poverty in India, it is calculated by using poverty line. What is poverty line? Discuss different norms or methods of fixing poverty line. Poverty line is the line which marks the difference between the APL and BPL class. It has been defined in terms of food poverty. There are different methods are available to measure poverty line. Some of them are the first one, Dadabhai Naoroji jail cost of living. He was the first person of India who measured poverty line before independence. He used the menu of prisoners and prevailing prices in the jail to calculate the consumption of an adult prisoner. He divided the population into two parts. The first one-third population consisted of children. Out of this, half of them consumed very little diet, while other half were consumed half of the adult diets. The second point is two-third population consisted of adults consume full diets. The average poverty line comes out of to be 3/4 of the adult jail cost of living. Now we are going to discuss about the second norms of measuring poverty, that is Task Force on Projection of Minimum Needs and Effective Consumption Demand. It measures in terms of minimum nutritional energy required for subsistence, which is expressed in terms of minimum daily calories intake. Poverty line is determined on the basis of suggested nutritional requirements of 2400 calories per day in rural area and 2100 calories per day in urban areas, which is considered as food poverty. Those people whose nutrition requirement are less than 2400 calories in rural areas and 2100 calories per day in urban areas are considered as a poor. Recently, the nutrition requirements of 2435 calories per day in rural areas and 2045 calories per day in urban areas. The rural people are required higher calories intake as compared to urban people because they do hard work, means physical works, whereas the urban people do the mental works. The poverty line has been defined as a food poverty. Monthly per capita consumption expenditure. In short, we can say NPCE. The per capita consumption expenditure for rural and urban areas is required to ensure the minimum calories intake in 2011 and 12 The poverty line is determined on the basis of suggested monthly per capita consumption expenditure or monthly per capita income, that is rupees 816 in rural areas and rupees 1000 in urban area. Those people whose income, monthly per capita income or monthly per capita consumption expenditure is below rupees 816 in rural area and rupees 1000 in urban areas are considered as poor. Recently, rupees 1500 is the cut-off point of MPCE. Those who spend less than rupees 1500 of MPCE are considered as poor. What is head count ratio? Head count ratio measures number of poor as the proportion of people living below the poverty line.
We'll meet in the next class. Till then, bye.